Good morning everyone, SigmaOni here and welcome to this video. Today I wanted to talk about LoveKami Divinity Stage, also called in Japan LoveKami with Stars, a visual novel made by Pulltop and published by MoeNovel worldwide in 2016 and in Japan in 2017. Yeah, don't ask me, that's the first for my reviews, to actually have a visual novel that was released worldwide before being even published in Japan. This visual novel is available both on PC and Nintendo Switch, but in this video I'm going to talk about the Steam version of this game. Divinity Stage is set in Japan during the current days, where, in response to the people losing faith in gods, many Shintoist deities descend upon them and start living and blending together with the humans. However, these gods have no concept of the human world and of their culture and common sense, so they need to learn how human society works, and because of this, various god schools are created to teach them these things in order to make it easier for them to integrate into society. A year after their descent, humans and gods have started blending together and gods have started partaking in human activities, such as striving to become an idol. Yeah, this visual novel is about idols, sorry to disappoint you. In this setting, the protagonist, Yamato, who is close to the leader of the most important idol group formed by goddesses, Benzite and Sara, encounters two goddesses that want to become idols, Kishoten, Shuri, and Amauzu Kagura, with whom he becomes involved when both of them appear in his family's kimono shop wanting to get an idol costume for an incoming audition that will give to the winner the possibility to join Sara's idol group. And so the protagonist starts helping Shuri and Kagura achieve their objective. Now, the plot of this game is nothing to be excited about. I mean, it is about idols in the end, what did you expect? The story of this visual novel can be literally summed up in a single sentence. Guy meets girl who wants to become idols and helps them achieving their goal. Yeah, it is as simple as that. Still, it succeeds in doing what it wanted to do in a somewhat satisfactory way. It surely is not anything more than an arcade story, but it doesn't have so many problems to make it actually crumble on itself. The majority of the visual novel is passed by showcasing Shuri and Kagura activities as idols, while the protagonist takes on the role of their manager, giving them any help possible, editing their musical videos and managing their online presence. All of these are just okay events. They aren't exceptionally good, nor are they exceptionally bad, they just are. It's just like when you go to a restaurant and order soup, then when it arrives, you quietly eat it without saying anything, and then you go on with your life without remembering that particular soup. It wasn't so bad as to actually make you reminisce about it being one of the first things you have ever eaten, nor was it so good to remain ingrained in your brain. You just ate it, and then forgot about it. It was okay, not mediocre, not bad, not good, it was just okay. The story is exactly that soup. It doesn't have any redeeming or awful features that make it so that it becomes a story you can remember, it just exists. You witness it, you acknowledge its existence while you were playing it, but then you have just moved on without any problem, and in time of less than some hours, you probably will have forgotten most about it. Well, this was for the common route, but what about the girls' specific routes? This game presents three routes, being the one of Shuri, Kagura, and Sara, which are of the same quality as the rest of the story. Not bad, but at the same time nothing extraordinary to be praised. They are just what someone can expect from a visual novel about gods wanting to become idols. Which I don't really know what expectation could they be, but I guess they ought to be pretty normal. This is the best adjective for this game. It is normal, exactly what you would expect by reading the synopsis. While this game has roots, it does have only one choice, from which it depends the girl you are going to engage with, so this can't really be considered a dating sim, more a bishoshu game or anything else. Even Wikipedia agrees with me on this one. Anyway, I will talk about the various rules a little bit later when I talk about the charges. A thing to underline is the amount of fetch scenes that this game offers. They are various and probably constitute a big chunk of the visual novel, and sometimes they are a bit out of place, aka they are too many, especially in the combo route. But the funny thing in all of this is that this game is 70+, except for the Japanese version, which is the only one to actually have an 18+ patch. The non-general availability of such a patch is kind of strange, especially because the game doesn't exactly hide the fact that something happens behind the scenes, just look at this clip.
5 minutes later.
The amount of fetch scenes and the various references could easily make this game an H game, but instead, because of the absence of an international patch, it just stays in that limbo of games that don't know what they want to be. Another thing I can say about all of this is that the incipit of the story, aka the fact that gods descended in the human worlds and started living with them, kind of seems an unnecessary part at times. It is essentially there to justify some of the stuff that happens in the story, which of course it is, otherwise the story wouldn't have included that, but still, I don't think it does enough to characterize the plot, because it is absolutely easy to imagine it without all the gods mixed with humans part. In a few words, it was an interesting story element that, unfortunately, wasn't really pushed enough. It was there more to offer explanation than for anything else. Which brings me to another consideration. There is no world building whatsoever, apart from the first 5 minutes where they describe the events leading to gods and humans coexisting together. You have such an interesting idea of having a mixed society of deities and humans that you could have built upon in whatever way you wanted, because it has a lot of potential, and you wasted on an idle story, one that didn't need the basic idea of this game, which makes an impossible world building useless as why should you care about the world around you when you have cute girls trying to sing and dance on stage? As for the characters we have for protagonists, Yamato, aka Yas, Sara, Shuri and Kagura. Yamato is just a self-insert character, nothing to write home about, if not for a question that you also have about visual novel protagonists. Why the hell am I very embarrassed every time a girl shows them affection? As for the heroines, well, first they are not that much original and end up being a mixture of archetypes, but secondly, they also are inspired from Shintoistic and Buddhist deities adopted by the Japanese pantheon, as their surname suggests. A little side note, I actually recommend you check the religious history of Japan. It is a really interesting subject, however, one that is probably not befitting for a video about girls wanting to become idols. Sara is based on Benzaiten, the goddess of all that flows and a part of the 7 lucky gods. Shuri is based on Kishoten, who is considered to be the goddess of happiness, beauty and fortune, and finally Kagura is based on Ameno Uzume, the goddess of dawn, meditation and arts, that is more known to be the one that drew Amaterasu out of the cavern in which she secluded herself in by dancing in an alluring way in one of Shintoism's most known tales. Okay, close this cultural parenthesis, let's return to our archetypical characters. Sara is simply an Onesan that treats Yamato like a little brother, Shuri is the mix between the girl next door and the tsundere archetype, and Kagura is essentially a flirty airhead that is really cheerful, as you can see from this clip. All of their roots involve discovering what love is and its powers. For Sara, it means overtaking uncertainties and problems, for Shuri, it means having the power to overcome every obstacle, and for Kagura it means the ability to persevere in what she loves and to not lose sight of yourself. These are spoiler-free definitions of their roots, but let me give you an alternative description of them. Sara's root is okay and probably the best between the three. Shuri's root is literally coping with her being a sort of siscon and performing fate actions in order to amplify your Sakimitama, and finally Kagura is kinda forgettable to be honest, as nothing really happens there. Apart from them, there really aren't any secondary characters. There are some other characters that make one or two appearances, but they are not really worth mentioning as their role is not important at all. Talking about the art style, this is a visual novel, of course it has a good one, it is one of the few things that even mediocre and bad visual novel have. The character design is good, the backgrounds are good, the CGs are good, I can't really say anything else about the art style. After all, judging it is way more personal than analyzing graphics, so the only thing I can say to you that can be actually considered objective is to look at the art style and decide for yourself if it passes your bar of being good or if it doesn't. A thing I can judge, however, is the character animations, as the models have been animated with emote, a competitor of Light 2D. Now, the movements are pretty basic, the characters just move a little bit to the left and to the right and they open their mouths when they speak. And here lies the biggest problem. Some of the mouth animations are okay, but some are just not that well thought. For example, sometimes Shuri speaks with her teeth closed while she is mining, which makes her seem like she is being held hostage by the people she is with. There are some of her animations that are a bit off, but this is the biggest critique I can make to the whole art style department. The sound aspect of this game is mixed. The songs are nothing memorable, they are just kind of there, but the voice acting is really enjoyable. All of the voice actresses for the girls did a good job in their role. Apart from this, there is nothing else to say about this aspect, so let's move on. I needed circa 4 hours to finish all the routes of this visual novel, and as for its replayability, you have 3 routes to clear. However, after having done that, there is nothing else to do apart from adding it to the pile of games that you have already played and you'll probably never pick up ever again. LoveKami Divinity Stage is nothing special, yet not too bad either. It is one of those games that may entertain the right type of person, but that can also easily bore to death those that maybe were searching for something different from an ecchi comedic visual novel. This game surely has some interesting premises in the setting, where gods and humans coexist, but it wastes them, using them for a story that could have been told even without it. Apart from this, Divinity Stage is nothing unmissable, it is something you can easily skip over if you aren't interested in the themes, and to be honest, probably even if you were interested in them. But if you're in search of a short and light visual novel, then I think I can slightly recommend you to take a look at this game and see if it is something that can pique your interest. Still, it is absolutely not worth the 13 euros that MoeNovel asked for it. Considering that it goes regularly on sale at less than 3 euros, if you're interested in it then snatch it while it is on sale, otherwise I suggest you wait for one. The content is not enough to justify its full price. And this is the end of the video. Thank you very much for arriving here, thank you very much for watching it, I hope you have enjoyed what I've showcased here. If you want to see more content on this, consider subscribing to the channel, I would really appreciate it. And I don't think I have anything else to say, so this was all from SigmaOni, and I'll see you all in my next video.